In medieval battles, death was not just a consequence, it was often the expected outcome. Yet, contrary to the blood-soaked depictions in movies, where knights ruthlessly slaughter their enemies, the reality of medieval warfare was more strategic and at times, surprisingly pragmatic. When two armies clashed on the battlefield, the goal wasn't always to kill as many enemies as possible. Instead, capturing opponents, especially those of higher status, was often more lucrative. A captured knight, for instance, was worth more alive than dead. The reason? Ransom. Ransoming captives was a common practice. Wealthy knights or nobles taken prisoner could fetch enormous sums, transforming their captors into instant aristocrats. The ransom system was so ingrained in medieval warfare that it influenced how battles were fought. For example, if a knight captured a noble opponent, the battle might end for him, not with a killing blow, but with the nobleman taken prisoner and held for ransom. This could be worth a fortune, sometimes enough to retire from the battlefield altogether. One of the most famous examples of this was King John II of France, who was captured by the English during the Battle of Poitiers in 1356. The ransom demanded for his release was an astronomical 3 million écus in gold, a sum so large it nearly bankrupted France. The concept of ransom was not limited to kings and nobles. Even common soldiers could be captured and ransomed, though their value was significantly lower. But what happened if you were a commoner, a foot soldier caught in the chaos of war? The chances of survival were slim, but not impossible. Even a lowly archer might be ransomed if he appeared to have some means or connections. However, for many, the ransom demanded could be as much as a year's wages, a nearly unattainable sum. Those who couldn't pay faced a grimmer fate. While knights might expect to be treated with a degree of respect, common soldiers were often at the mercy of their captors' whims. If a ransom was not forthcoming, these men might be executed or forced into servitude. Despite the brutal nature of medieval warfare, the practice of ransoming captives reveals a more calculated side to these conflicts. It wasn't always about spilling blood, but about exploiting the opportunity for profit. This cold calculus added a layer of complexity to the brutal reality of war, where survival often depended on the value one could command in gold. Even so, the battlefield was still a place of unimaginable horror. Armies didn't just fight with swords and spears, they employed siege weapons designed to inflict maximum pain and suffering. The use of boiling oil, flaming arrows, and catapults that launched diseased corpses into besieged cities were not uncommon tactics. These methods were designed not only to kill, but to demoralize the enemy, spreading fear and panic through their ranks. In the end, medieval warfare was a brutal and deadly game, where life and death hung in the balance, often decided not by the sword, but by the purse. The practice of ransoming captives shows that even in the midst of bloodshed, medieval warriors were keenly aware of the value of life, not in humanistic terms, but in cold, hard cash.